What if I told you that one of hip-hop's biggest legends left behind a voicemail that could completely change everything we thought we knew about his death? What if the woman who loved him most had been screaming the truth from the rooftops for decades, only to be laughed at, dismissed, and written off as bitter? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into one of the most explosive stories in hip-hop history. And trust me, when I say this rabbit hole goes deeper than you could ever imagine. For years, Lil' Kim has been trying to tell anyone who would listen that something wasn't right about what happened to Biggie. She raised red flags, she pointed fingers, and she called out the very people who were supposed to be protecting the man she loved. But what did the world do? They mocked her. They dismissed her as a scorned woman seeking attention. They wrote her off as dramatic, bitter, or just plain crazy. But here's the thing about prophecy. It has a funny way of revealing itself when the time is right. And that time, it's right now. More and more celebrities are finally breaking their silence about Diddy, and suddenly, all those crazy things Lil' Kim was saying don't sound so crazy anymore. In fact, they sound like she was trying to warn us all along. For the longest time, it was just voices like Gene Deal and Jaguar Wright speaking out against Diddy, and the industry wrote them off as bitter former associates looking for their 15 minutes of fame. But when you start connecting the dots, when you start looking at the patterns, when you start really listening to what these people have been saying, a terrifying picture begins to emerge. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when Lil' Kim and Diddy were supposedly friends. Back when everything seemed like it was all love in the hip-hop family. This was the mid-90s, and Kim had just joined Junior Mafia, the group that Biggie himself had created. Through Biggie, Kim got introduced to Diddy, and on the surface, everything looked perfect. Diddy became her friend, her manager, her supposed mentor in this cutthroat industry. But here's where things get interesting, and by interesting, I mean suspicious as hell. Despite having this close relationship with Kim, despite managing her, despite claiming to believe in her talent, Diddy never signed her to Bad Boy Records. Never. And when people asked him why, his excuse was absolutely ridiculous. He told MTV that Kim was too pretty to be rapping, claiming that female rappers weren't supposed to look like her. Can you believe that? In an industry where image is everything, he's claiming someone is too attractive to be successful. That's not just sexist. That's sabotage disguised as an opinion. But Kim proved him wrong in the most spectacular way possible. Her debut album, Hardcore, went platinum, selling over 1 million copies and establishing her as one of the most influential female rappers of all time. So surely now, with proven success, with platinum sales, with undeniable talent, Diddy would want to sign her to his label, right? Wrong. He still refused. He still claimed he didn't believe female rappers could move records like that, even when Kim had literally just proved him wrong with her own success. And that's when people started realizing that this wasn't just about business. This wasn't just about some outdated views on female rappers. The tension between Kim and Diddy ran much deeper than anyone realized. See, Diddy had this pattern. He was always doing people wrong, but he had enough money and influence to make the problems disappear. He had enough power to rewrite the narrative, to make himself look like the victim, to silence anyone who tried to speak out against him. But the most telling moment, the moment that really showed Kim who Diddy truly was, came in 2005 when she went to prison for perjury. This was someone she had considered a friend, someone who had been her manager, someone who had been part of her inner circle for years. And when she needed support the most, when she was facing time behind bars, where was Diddy? Nowhere to be found. He never visited her. He never wrote to her. He never even gave her his contact information. He completely abandoned her when she needed him most. But abandoning her wasn't enough for Diddy. Oh no, he had to add insult to injury. While Kim was serving time behind bars, Diddy made a move that was so calculated, so cruel, that it still takes your breath away. He shifted his loyalty to Kim's biggest rival, Nicki Minaj. And when people called him out for this betrayal, when people questioned how he could abandon someone who had been loyal to him for years, what did he say? He dismissed all criticism and claimed that Nicki was his artist now. He said he no longer worked with Kim, but still had love for her. Still had love for her after completely abandoning her in her darkest hour. And if that wasn't bad enough, Nicki later fired shots at Kim in a track with Diddy's own group, Dirty Money. Imagine being in prison, already at your lowest point, and hearing that the person you thought was your friend had not only replaced you, but was actively participating in attacking you. Talk about pouring salt in an open wound. But the sabotage didn't start when Kim went to prison. Looking back, Kim now realizes that Diddy had been sabotaging her career from the very beginning. There were major opportunities, career-defining moments that mysteriously slipped away, and Kim was too young and trusting to realize what was happening behind the scenes. Take the Cisco Thong Song situation, for example. This was going to be a massive hit, and it was, and Kim was supposed to be featured on it. This could have been one of the biggest songs of her career, but Diddy, in his role as her manager, told her to play hard to get, and the opportunity slipped away. At the time, Kim thought it was just bad timing, just the way the industry worked. But looking back now, she's convinced that Diddy sabotaged her chances on purpose. And then there's the Michael Jackson situation, which is even more heartbreaking when you think about what could have been. Michael Jackson himself wanted Kim on one of his albums. The king of pop, the biggest star in the world, wanted to work with Lil' Kim. Producer Rodney Jerkins confirmed that Michael loved her sound and wanted her on the project. But when it came time to make it happen, when they had to go through Diddy as Kim's manager, it mysteriously went nowhere. Michael Jackson wanted to work with you, and somehow that doesn't happen. That's not coincidence, that's sabotage. Kim was young and unaware of the power plays happening behind the scenes, but now, looking back with years of experience and wisdom, she's convinced that Diddy was deliberately blocking her from reaching her full potential. And why would he do that? Maybe because he never wanted her to become too powerful, too independent, too much of a threat. But here's where the story gets even darker, and this is where we need to talk about what Lil' Kim might have known about what really went down with Biggie. Because if Diddy was willing to sabotage Kim's career, if he was willing to abandon her when she needed him most, what else was he capable of? Let me take you back to 1992, when Biggie first crossed paths with Diddy. Puff had read an article about Biggie in a magazine, and impressed by what he saw, he arranged a meeting. By 1993, Biggie was officially signed to Diddy's brand new label, Bad Boy Entertainment. In 1994, Biggie dropped Ready to Die, a massive success that cemented him as the face of East Coast rap and established Bad Boy as a major player in the industry. But only 3 years later, tragedy struck. In 1997, Biggie was gone, killed in what was officially ruled a drive-by shooting. But for decades, whispers have surrounded his death. And some of those whispers suggest that Biggie was preparing to leave Bad Boy, a move that could have cost Diddy everything. Gene Deal and others have even speculated that Diddy himself may have played a darker role in Biggie's death than anyone wants to admit. Now, not everyone believed these rumors. Faith Evans, Biggie's wife at the time, stood firmly in Diddy's corner. She insisted there was no way Diddy could have been behind Biggie's death, claiming that Diddy and Biggie shared a bond that even she never fully had with her husband. Faith argued that just because they were working together didn't mean there was a sinister plot, and she pointed out that if the family suspected Diddy, they would have taken him to court years ago. She said people tried to push them to sue, but they refused because they didn't believe Diddy was guilty. But not everyone bought her defense. Many fans argued that Faith was protecting Diddy, and there had long been rumors about her being too close to him, rumors that allegedly strained both her marriage to Biggie and Biggie's relationship with Diddy. Jaguar Wright even alleged that Diddy hired Faith as a way to get closer to Biggie, an allegation that added more fuel to an already suspicious fire. And then Gene Deal dropped a bombshell that changed everything. According to Gene, one of Biggie's closest friends, Biggie had once pulled out a contract for a brand new label he was planning to launch. The deal, according to Gene, was worth a staggering $62 million. Biggie told him straight up that he was about to cash in, branch out, and build something massive, something completely separate from Diddy. That's where things get darker because Gene Deal insists that Biggie wasn't the victim of some random drive-by shooting. He believes it was a setup, carefully planned, not some accident of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Think about it from a business perspective. It's no secret that Biggie was a goldmine for Diddy, and some believe he never wanted to risk losing that cash cow. But here's the really disturbing part. Whispers in the industry suggest that Biggie was worth even more to Diddy in death than he was in life. Gene Deal even claimed that the betrayal may have come from within their own circle, that someone from the crew may have marked Biggie's car the night he was killed, signaling to the shooters exactly where he was sitting. And here's where Lil' Kim steps back into the story in the most chilling way possible. Rumor has it that she always knew what was happening behind the scenes. She saw firsthand what Diddy was doing after Biggie's death. And when she thought about speaking out, when she considered telling the world what she knew, Diddy himself warned her to stay quiet. That could explain why Kim stayed silent for decades. That could explain why she seemed to know things that others didn't. Why her warnings seemed so specific, so detailed, so prophetic. She wasn't just guessing, she was there. She witnessed it all. But now, the whispers are that she's no longer standing with Diddy, and she's finally ready to talk. The industry is changing, more people are speaking out, and the walls of silence that protected certain powerful figures for decades are finally starting to crumble. If Lil' Kim chooses to spill everything she knows, she could expose some of the darkest truths about Diddy, about Biggie, and about what really went down in the 90s. She has the credibility because she was there. She was part of the inner circle. She witnessed the business dealings, the personal relationships, the behind-the-scenes maneuvering that the public never saw. If she speaks, it could blow the entire story wide open and finally give us the answers we've been searching for. Are we on the edge of the biggest revelation hip-hop has ever seen? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Lil' Kim tried to warn us years ago, and maybe, just maybe, it's finally time for the world to listen.